Hey, I'm Avinash, and in this video we are going to understand what is Web 3.0. Now, few things I want to remind you before we start this video. We are not going to have a technological discussion around Web 3.0, how it works, what are the technologies involved. We are going to just touch the surface level. We're not going to drill deeper into that. Secondly, we are going to go into the little bit of history, maybe 30% of the video will be related to history, so that we can understand why we need Web 3.0, what are the disadvantages we have with the current technologies, or like I should say the different versions of web which we have, and why we need Web 3.0. So this is how the video is planned. So let's try to understand. Now, before we start with Web 3.0, obviously we have to understand Web 1.0. So what is Web 1.0? I'll give a very simple and slight example of it. It was static content. That means users did not had any chance of interactivity. Secondly, it was very hard for the average user. So like if I talk about my mother, she would not be able to use web, what we call is web 1.0. And finally, which is one of the most important point, content flow was one way. That means here we have the creator of the content, and here we have the consumer of the content. You can see the flow is one way. That means if I am a consumer of the content, I cannot actually create the content. It is very difficult for me to do that, and that is why it was not very popular, and only few entities actually had the access to that kind of resources or technology, so that they can actually take advantage of what we call as Web 1.0. Then came Web 2.0. Now, let's try to understand how Web 2.0 worked. So, it was built using advanced technologies like HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. In case if you do not know these words, you can totally skip them, because obviously we are not understanding what those are. Well, it was very easy for user to use. Obviously, we can understand what is the reason behind it. And finally, one of the most important point, I'm not just the consumer, I'm also the creator of the content. That is why it paved the way for user generated content. You can see these days websites like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they are not just letting us consume the content. I can actually start making videos, I can start writing blogs, I can start writing something, I can start sharing images, and I can also help that platform grow. I can also share my stories. If I have something, if I have to raise some voice, I can do that. I can take advantages of these technologies like I can take advantage of Web 2.0 to actually share whatever I have with me, the information which I have with me. So here you can see the consumer is not just the consumer of it, but it is also a creator which can actually help the platform to grow. So obviously right now, maybe you're watching this video on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever platforms you're using. I'm basically a creator who is letting you consume my content, and basically I'm not the owner of these platforms. I'm a third party. This platform is just enabling me to help and spread my content. So this is what Web 2.0 in nutshell. Avinash, it sounds very good, but what are the problems with Web 2.0? Like if it is enabling the average user to actually do this kind of work, well, what is the problem with that? Well, first of all, when Web 2.0 started growing, it became centrally controlled, because obviously a lot of things were involved. Your data is at the mercy of the platform, which is technically a reality, and policies are not very often. So like let's say you're using a platform, and next day you realize that you're banned from that platform. Now, since policies are not often transparent, you will be shown that since you're violating the policies of our company, you are blocked or you are banned from using our platform. But the problem is we don't know what is the actual reason they have banned this. Secondly, your data is at the mercy of the platform. Once you are gone from the platform, once you are banned from the platform, your data, whatever stuff you have done, it is just at the mercy of the platform. Will you be able to get it or not? Again, obviously there are so many companies which are working around it, but yes, in nutshell, this is few problems we had or we have with Web 2.0. Now it will be very easy for us to understand what is Web 3.0. Well, first of all, Web 3.0 is decentralized. That means it is not owned or controlled by a single entity. It is built using smart contracts. In simpler terms, better algorithm. I'll let you know what we know, like what is something known as smart contract. Then the data which is there cannot be edited or altered. So once your data goes inside the platform, once it goes inside the database, if I may in simpler terms, it cannot be edited, while in Web 2.0 it could be. And finally, nobody needs a permission or a special permit card to be a part of Web 3.0 because it is openless. Sorry, it is because it is open, or it is permissionless. Now here you can see I have drawn a very simple diagram and I'm explaining how data is flowing. But Avinash, this, don't you think this is how Web 2.0 used to work? So you're sitting at your home, I'm sitting at my home, and I'm able to watch this video. Well, you're watching this video because of the platform you are on right now. In Web 3.0, I'm not asking the platform to give me that data. So you can see this user is actually connected to this user. He or she is not connected to a separate entity, single entity. Same is with her, same is with him, and same is with this person. So if I need some data, if I need some information, I'm not requesting that separate entity, hey, give me that piece of information. I can take that information from anyone who is part of this Web 3.0 network, or that particular platform. So this is how Web 3.0 is a bit different than what we call is Web 2.0. Now, as we were discussing about the data flow, let's try to understand in a very simpler terms how data flows in Web 3.0. Now this is very important because in Web 2.0, user creates the content, it goes to that particular entity, and that entity stores in their database. But here how that happens? Well, in that case, I'm a user, I'm using technologies like web browser, obviously, because the technologies are enabling me to connect to the Web 3.0. Okay, after that, the data, or I should say my information, goes to a smart contract. What is a smart contract? A smart contract is sort of an algorithm which is sort of a set of rules which are written. So in case if my data satisfies the smart contracts, the data is saved in the blockchain. If that is not following the smart contracts, the data cannot be saved in blockchain. So the smart contract is sort of controlling the flow of data, if it can be saved in the blockchain or if it cannot be saved in the blockchain. Now, obviously, you can have this question, Avinash, I think this is how the data flows in Web 2.0, so how that is different? Well, here the smart contract is not controlled by a single entity. You can actually read the smart contract. So like what is written, what are the set of rules which are written there, and how my data or how my information is going to get inside that blockchain if I'm going to follow what is written in the smart contract. So this is how data flows. One of the most important point we have to understand, the smart contract is not controlled by a single entity and it is open. Now, in case if you need to understand what is smart contract in further or in detail, I will create a separate video, because obviously in this video it is very difficult for me to give you in detail what is a smart contract. Now, let's try to understand the advantages we have with Web 3.0 currently. So, data privacy, obviously, since there is no single entity involved, it is very easy for us to keep every information private, or we control how that information is used, because obviously we can read the smart contract. Secondly, service availability without central control. So obviously if I log into that particular platform, if I'm using that particular service, I'm assured that since it is not controlled by a centrally controlled, or maybe someone who's my enemy, they're not going to ban me just because we have some differences. Then we have transparency. You can see I'm sort of an evangelist of this word transparency. I'm just saying transparency, 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 because if I'm interacting with this platform, I should understand what are the things I'm not supposed to do, what are the things I'm supposed to do. And obviously a lot of platforms says that yes, we follow this kind of a convention, but obviously as an individual it is very difficult for me to understand like what are the things because of which I'm banned from the platform. And finally, it is borderless. That means if I want to do some transaction, I'm not limited, I'm not controlled, I'm not hampered to take that advantage because I belong to a certain border, because I live inside certain border. So if I want to transact, if I want to talk to someone, if I want to take advantage of it, if I want to take advantage of the opportunities, belonging to a certain country, belonging to a certain region is not going to affect that thing. So this is some of the advantages we have with Web 3.0. Sounds good, Avinash. Are we done yet? Well, we are not done yet because Web 3.0 has disadvantages as well. Well, first of all, technology is not yet fully matured. So if I talk about the average user, now they're not able to participate in what we call is Web 3.0. Yes, there are so many things which are making it easier, but obviously there are a lot of people, if I talk about average users, they're struggling to take part of something which we call as Web 3.0. Okay, now let's try to understand Web 3.0 and you. Now, you may be a startup, you may be a research person, or maybe you are doing some research or you are trying to understand. Let's try to understand how Web 3.0 is for you. Well, obviously, in terms of applications, so a lot of companies, a lot of startups are focusing on what advantages they can take with Web 3.0. So there are good applications in the industry of healthcare, real estate, finance, and insurance. Because if I talk about in terms of healthcare, obviously your data belongs to the person. It does not belong to us entity, or it does not belong to a software which is going to process that data. Real estate, keeping everything secure, making sure that the contract is not breached. We have to make sure that the property is owned by the correct entity or the correct person. Obviously, we understand why we need Web 3.0 in the finance industry as well as the insurance industry. So obviously, if you're a startup, if you're thinking of starting something related to Web 3.0, it is very difficult to understand and what technologies you should be using and how you should be getting ahead with that. So it gets very difficult, but obviously in case if you need some consultation from my end, if you need some help from my end, obviously there is a form in the description of this video. Go look into that particular form and see if you need some further help, or if you need some consultation. In that case, I would be happy to help you in that. So with this, I would say thank you very much for listening to this video, try to understand what is Web 3.0. I did not mention what is a smart contract. I did not mention what is a blockchain, and I did not mention few more technologies which are related to Web 3.0 because I wanted to keep it very simple. But obviously the comment section is there. Go there, comment out what kind of things you want to understand related to Web 3.0, or maybe the different technologies you want to know. If you like this video, obviously thumbs up is something which you can give and you can help me grow the channel. Obviously you can subscribe to the channel so that whatever videos coming up, you can get the notification. Obviously if you feel like I have shared something which is valuable, obviously share with your friends and let them know what is Web 3.0 so they don't miss understanding what is Web 3.0. And obviously other videos are going to be lined up related to smart contract, blockchain, and different things which are part of this industry. So until then, thank you very much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.